Test. 1, 2, testing. Yes. What's going on, guys? Samuel World from Samuel Productions here, back with another top 20 list for y'all today. As now today, I'm going to talk about what I think are the top 20 best movies of 2018. Probably the year that I've already seen the most movies, honestly. Mainly because I was probably like a movie at a time, and I used to do like little watch parties where I had watching a lot of Netflix movies with them. And a lot of other movies. So yeah, I've seen so many movies that came out this year. It's kind of insane, honestly, but it's not I knew I was going to make a top 20 because there were so many great movies that came out in 2018. But the year was like the best in general, honestly, but there were still some amazing movies that came out this year. So I still hope you'll enjoy, and I would definitely love to know your favorite movies of 2018 down below in the comment section. Again, as always, before we get to the actual list, let's get into the honorable mentions. And the honorable mentions are Black Panther, Isle of Dogs, Ready Player One, The Writer, Anna and the Apocalypse, Upgrade, Won't You Be My Neighbor, Sicario, Dia de Soldado, Blindspotting, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, Beautiful Boy, A Simple Favor, Aquaman, You Were Never Really Here, Tag, Roma, the Suspiria remake, Widows, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and the film that just barely missed the list, Black Klansman. Honestly, what's for the last 2 minutes, Black Klansman probably would easily made the actual list. But those are the mentions. Now let's get to the actual top 20, shall we? Now, like I said before, 2018 is a film I've watched so many movies, it's insane. So I definitely had a lot of debate which was going to be at least my 2016, honestly. I definitely debated on that for a bit, but coming in number 20, we have Bumblebee. I've always loved Bumblebee, but I think with my most recent rewatch, when I rewatch all Transformers movies and TV shows for Resident Beast, definitely made me appreciate Bumblebee so much more, honestly. And it's another film I basically got to see a couple weeks early, and it's like, this is how you do a Transformers movie. This alone is how you do a Transformers movie. Don't overcomplicate it, don't overdo it, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple, but also make it unique and stand out. And that's what Bumblebee does. And it does that very well. When it does develop Bumblebee as a character, Helen stuff is also fantastic, and her family stuff is really compelling throughout. How Bumblebee, the relationship between those two characters evolve is fantastic. And it's basically like the Iron Giant, but in live action. That's basically the best way to describe it. It's basically an Iron Giant live action movie, and that's honestly not bad at all. That's not a terrible distinction at all. And then you just still feel the heart of what that movie did. And then you also got John Cena delivering great performance, some amazing effects. Like the first 10 minutes alone are better than pretty much majority of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Like, no joke. You get great action, some great character development, just a really heartfelt movie that I can't help but having a big grin on my face whenever I come back to it. Now, at number 18, we have First Man, which is the latest film, another film from Damien Chazelle, which is interesting considering the Whiplash and Wild Lamp were my favorite movies of 2014 and 2016. And First Man is down at number 18, but that doesn't think ever for that First Man was great. It's just, I would say just not as rewatchable as the other two movies. But I feel like not the First Man is still a fantastic movie that really tells the amazing story of Neil Armstrong. It has a really compelling narrative. It's paced very well. When the story of Neil Armstrong's life and everything is really compelling. Ryan Gosling continues to be one of the best actors working today, and Claire Foy is also fantastic in general. And pretty much everyone is fantastic. The actors that got to play these people are fantastic. And the actual moon landing sequences, I think, is just phenomenal, and the visuals on that are just fantastic. Again, not the most rewatchable movie in the world, but it's still a fantastic movie that really delivers on the emotion. Now we get to number 18 and get to one of the best stories that came out in 2018. That is Searching. Searching, a film that pretty much came out of nowhere, and a lot of people weren't expecting to be as good as it was, but it ended up being a very compelling thriller that has really great surprises. John showed the performance of his career, and the way they utilized the whole fan version and having the film basically most episodes on the computer is really compelling, actually, and really adds to the intensity of the mystery that goes on throughout the movie. With really interesting themes and messages, the film that just delivers on all that. You have to be invested throughout. That's really all I can say about it. It's a really interesting thriller with an incredible mystery. It's what you should just check out. Then be surprised by a lot of twists and turns. Now, coming in at number 17, we got one of my most anticipated movie of the year. That's what I think still delivered, and that is The Incredibles 2. Now, obviously, I think the original was far superior, obviously, but for being one is a sequel to a film that is probably my second favorite Pixar movie of all time, one of my favorite movies, period. I'd say it could have gone a lot worse, and I still think I do love and defend this movie, honestly, but the opening scene alone, this movie is just like, yeah, yes, finally! While I wouldn't say it hits like the true heights of the original movie, I think there's still a lot of greatness to it, so obviously it's still on the list. I still have a blast with the beautiful animation, the great characters, the great back and forth between a lot of these characters, the great humor, the interesting antagonist, which was more predictable. It's very compelling and interesting. And the way it develops a lot more in the first movie, a lot more of the messages, a lot more of the stuff on the superheroes and everything. It is very compelling stuff. I laughed, I had short time throughout, and checked that's easy to still see in the movie. I don't know, just a pretty nice, fantastic film from Pixar. Now, I remember seriously, we got one of those movies that was definitely close to make my actual list, but I don't think I ended up doing it, but it did end up more I thought about, and that is Bad Times at the L Royale, which is basically a different new film just by Drew Goddard, who, don't know his acclaimed writer, is also the same guy that did The Cabin in the Woods, who directed The Cabin in the Woods, which was in my best movie 2012, honestly. He also did Cloverfield, World War Z, and The Martian, and it is the last thing I think he did, honestly, if I remember, only from the writing, but I don't think I've done much recently now if I think about it, but this is still a great movie that's definitely very unique and interesting. It's a film that's very unpredictable and very, like, interesting what goes wrong, and you also got a really stacked cast here with Jeff Bridges, Sidney Ovo, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, Kelly Spaney, Chris Hemsworth, like Offerman, like, you got a stacked cast here, and they all deliver with very interesting, compelling characters who all basically deliver so much interesting performances with lore and back and forth that's basically very interesting and compelling. And you get some pretty intense sequences throughout. Honestly, it's definitely one of the movies that I recommend just not really much, and there are really a lot of the surprises that it does lead to. Now, coming in at number 15, another film that basically did not end up making that list, but I think the more I thought about it, the more like, yeah, it has to make the list, and that is Creed 2. Yes, a film that all doesn't like hit the true highs of the original movie. It's still a fantastic sequel that still delivers a lot of the pure emotion. There was a lot more predictable than the last movie, but you know, this one case where just because it's predictable doesn't mean it packs a punch. I can say like even the original is predictable, but it's how it's executed, how it's handled, makes it really impactful. And you teach on the story of Adonis and Terry Scribble goes through, and him finding the son of Ivan Drago, which is telling me the Dragos, which are very over the top characters in Rocky 4. Actual compelling villains, actual compelling characters, and actual real people, which I think is very compelling. And the plot sequences are still great, the train sequences are still great. How it does, and I like how they actually make Rocky. I still have Rocky have something to do here, honestly, and with this possibly being the last time we're going to see Rocky, I think they do a pretty good job, honestly, with making him have a satisfying end to one of the most beloved characters of all time. And what they do with Ivan Drago here is just fantastic, with of course, Dolph Lundgren returning for the role and him delivering one hell of a performance here, honestly. And the whole final fight is just impactful. Again, definitely more predictable than the last Green movie, but that doesn't make it any less terrible again. And again, pretty much you watching it while preparing for it. Obviously, Creed 3 that came out earlier this year. Maybe appreciate Creed 2 so much more. If I never get to another sequel at number 14, and that is Deadpool 2. Again, I thought the original is still better, but Deadpool 2 is still an incredible comic sequel that pretty much should one made the original so great and still deliver, going through pretty much poking fun at DC, poking fun at some elements, and just going all at it, honestly. Honestly, again, and they somehow managed to top the opening sequence of that movie, where they managed to do a pretty surprising thing in that first movie, and again this movie, and also that song Ashes that plays with Celine Dion is just fantastic and beautiful. A song I still listen to honestly regularly. That like in general I think is still fantastic. And the action is still great. How they do with the villains are still interesting and compelling, and has a lot of great surprises. Cable is a compelling character. What they do with the little kid, I thought was pretty interesting, and all of that end credits. Best end credits sequence ever. Just holy shit. Again, I think what that really delivers, honestly. And it's gonna be interesting where we're gonna end up getting a Deadpool 3 somewhere next year, so yeah, I just hope it delivers as much greatness as these first two movies. Now, at number 15, we got a film that I think is honestly pretty underappreciated. A lot of films should definitely check out if you haven't. That is Wildlife, which is actually the director review of Paul Dano, who is although actually I find to be actually pretty underappreciated. Actually, I think a lot of them. Let's really talk about how fantastic this guy could be. I mean, this guy that also played the Riddler in Batman, and he's played the one of the characters in Swiss Army Man. The guy is an incredible actor, but I feel he's kind of pretty underappreciated in a lot of areas. But this was his directorial debut, and oh my god, does he deliver here by telling a real tender movie that, again, is very real and compelling. Well, it definitely isn't the most rewatchable movie in the world. It's a movie that still has a lot of impact on me since I first watched it, mostly because of the messages it tells and all the storytelling, and a very just incredible, real movie, especially when it comes to the performances of Jake Gyllenhaal and Kelly Mulligan, who was one of her best performances in this movie. Like, it's definitely one movie that you should definitely just watch, not know much about it, but it's definitely a film that definitely does stand out a little bit from these type of movies, and it definitely delivers a lot thanks to the direction of Paul Dano, the beautiful and amazing cinematography, and of course the performances by all the actors. Now we go from emotional drama to one of the best horror movies to come out in 2010. In my opinion, that is a fantastic horror movie. Yeah, number 12 is Quiet Place. It's a fantastic horror movie that uses the moment of silence to create some top-tier intensity. This is also where John Krasinski really people like, oh yeah, John Krasinski's directing his horror again. Obviously, John Krasinski has directed other movies before this, before I heard I had not seen those yet, but this is the film that really makes me feel like, holy shit, this guy is just, whoa. And how you got John Krasinski in general, delivering great performance. Emily Blunt delivering, probably in my opinion, the best performance. Again, Blunt's always a fantastic actress and everything, so this is really saying something. Like, especially that bathtub scene, which, well, it made me super try to get pregnant during this time. It still leads to some very intense and compelling moments. And the way the movie ends also as well is just, holy shit, where he develops the world and everything, which they do develop a lot more part 2. I'm sure they will in the Day 1 prequels coming out next year. But anyway, a fantastic movie that really delivers on the intensity and scares. Now, at number 11 and number 10, I'm talking about both movies because both these movies are similar. They're both R-rated comedies that came out in 2018 that films I was not looking forward to in the slightest around the time, but basically I thought a lot of R-rated comedies are just pretty terrible nowadays, and that was definitely true. But these are two movies that somehow shocked the hell out of me. I was like, wow, these are just, wow. And basically two movies I was not excited for, and they end up surprising me being such comedies that I've come back to a while since it came out, and it delivered. With number 11 being Game Night. Game Night! Game Night! And number 10 being Blockers. I definitely remember which one I liked more, honestly, and to be honest, you could definitely record and Game Night could be number 10, but both of them are just incredible films. And they're all great uses of our comedy, where Game Night basically kind of playing like an actual board game, using like different ways to embrace it and everything, and having a lot of twists and turns throughout, but also being hilarious and back and forth. And also Jason Bateman delivering great comedic performance, Richard Adams, Billy Magnuson, and also Jessica Plemons being a show stealer, and having some nice surprises and twists and turns throughout. Most of the time, having like so much heart to it that you can help but be invested in these characters. And the way it ends is just great. But then we have Blockers, which it's something that was even more surprising considering, it's a movie basically of a parent trying to stop their daughters from having sex on prom night. And the movie is called Blockers. I mean, just come on, like, how can you not just go take like people being way over the top and people just going insane and just being like, what you expect something was good? But no, it's actually pretty heartfelt. They actually develop a lot of these characters and relationship with their daughters, so you understand why they want to do this. They don't just have like, they pretty much just don't have like them just do it for the sake of it. They do it for understandable reasons, and it makes you actually invested in these characters. There's also one shot his best performances. It's also once man's great. Even Barnhold is also fantastic. It's easy to show still here. Like even the girls here are, even the daughters are great, honestly. And basically, it's rare as basically the female version of Superbad, which honestly that's basically the best way to describe them. The female version of Superbad, and it works. The humor is great. It's actually very consistent. There's among the least very emotional, heartfelt moments, especially involve Aya Boken's character and his daughter. And you can understand why these parents want doing the way they are doing. They're not just like over the top caricatures. They are real people. That's why a lot of the crazy stuff that happens, a lot of the R-rated stuff that you expect. Again, R-rated stuff is still pretty hilarious actually. And actually, hell, like some moments I start to not laugh as much. They end up being some of the funniest stuff in the entire movie. Like whoa, what? Oh my god. But again, I focus on four fantastic comedies that if you not check them out, I think they are great comedies. Great, the best way to do R-rated comedies. And definitely some of the most consistent ones that we have gotten. Now coming up, now we get to a film that basically, a film I actually also got to see very early on, so I was really surprised by. And I feel like I've got a lot more appreciation in recent years, and that is Love, Simon. A film that basically stars Nick Robinson, Captain Langhart. And it's actually a great teen coming-of-age movie about a guy who basically is scared of coming out as gay and to form a relationship with this guy and tries to figure out who he is. And the mystery on that stuff actually is pretty compelling and interesting. I invested a lot more in that than I was expecting. Like, damn, I wasn't expecting to be invested in that relationship. But in the mystery, because they can't go a long way hearings on who was going to be and who could be. And when actually it was like, oh, that's interesting. And also maybe the first movie that was that, hey, Nick Robinson can actually be an actor. Now I know like anything he did more than that in Jurassic World. So this proves like, yeah, this guy actually can act ass off, honestly, and he does a great job of a lot of the emotional scenes. And one some scenes that can go off top, especially with this one bully character. It's not like in like an unrealistic type of way. It's just more like, really, you pulling this kind of shit? But it's still very compelling, and you still care what's going on, you still care about Simon's journey throughout, and his parts especially played by Josh Duhamel and Joe Rogan are actually pretty well done, honestly. And you get some pretty hilarious and charming moments, you get some very realistic moments. Again, one of those teen dramas that does right done, like overdone it, overwhelming, honestly. But it is very compelling throughout. Especially with the Ferris wheel sequence, I think it's just fantastic. One of the best moments of the year, honestly. And also, it has ended up leading to actually a sequel, kind of a sequel series and same movies with Love Victor, which is a show I actually really also love, honestly. One of the shows also gets better more to think about it. But Love, Simon, I think it's fantastic. It's definitely one of the better coming-of-age teen movies to come out in recent years. And I'm happy I actually got to see it very early. And now we get to what I think is the most surprising movie of 2018, and that is The Hate You Give. Now, considering I saw a lot of movies, there are actually a lot of movies that genuinely surprised me with how much I actually enjoyed them, how much I loved them. There's definitely some people I'm listening to with Game Night and Blockers. But this is most definitely actually the most surprising movie because it was a film, yeah, I was excited for it, considering you felt the premise of the movie, you said who was cast in this movie, you're like, oh, it's just going to be one of those, it's just going to be one of those movies that's just going to hammer in the message of like police brutality and this and that, and just not tell anything interesting with it. I felt like it was gonna be like one of those movies. That's what I felt like in the trailers. But I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this movie is emotional and impactful and touching. And it doesn't like beat your head with the same message over and over again. It even goes for some very other interesting elements. Wow. And the Steinbeck's fantastic. And everyone's great. And the way the message like that. Like the whole protesting sequence, the whole protest sequence that actually happens is just you actually unpack because you actually do care about the characters and what's going on. And about to my hair, but she's probably my favorite scene in the movie because just the acting mad better. And even Spirit Common is actually not that bad here. You can check it. Appa is great. Lauren Hornsby, Anthony Mackie, Common, Regina Hall, and even does a lot more compelling stuff on the messaging, which again I was really invested in. I actually cared about the characters, and it doesn't like beat you over the head with the same message over and over again like I was expecting it to do. No, it's actually a compelling movie with an incredible screenplay, great directing, fantastic performances, great music, and really emotionally impactful scenes. Just wow. Now, so my top 7 actually is pretty much mainly the same top 7 as my original list, honestly. They're pretty much the same movies I would put. I mean, there's a couple films that swap a couple spots, but these are pretty much mostly the same, pretty much all the same movies that I originally had in my top 7. So, there's some slots actually changed. I'll say my top 8 is probably still the same, honestly, but yeah, coming in number 7, we have Annihilation, which is voiced done by Alex Garland, who's the guy that did Ex Machina, which was the film that barely missed my 2015 list, honestly. So I actually had on the list, but it's just strong for the other movies. But Annihilation is when I actually saw this movie in theaters and was actually blown away by it. Again, another movie that I definitely don't watch often, but it's one of those when I do, I just appreciate so much. Again, it's a movie that's not gonna be for everybody. It's a movie that's very art housey in a lot of areas in some directions, especially with that craziness they interact. But I still love every second of it. Again, Knife Portman was probably one of the best performances here. Jed Rodriguez, Jennifer Lee, Tessa Thompson, Oscar Isaac, they all do a great job with their roles. And when you want to actually explore and everything with some characters and what they're going through, it's actually really compelling stuff and really impactful sequences. The visual effects I think are fantastic. The directing is fantastic. I definitely didn't mind John Aguilar, but it goes a little bit batshit insane, but in the best possible way. The way it ends, just like it's one of those like very thought-provoking type of things that you're like, what does this mean? Like what? But it's one of those things that definitely it's one of those things that actually makes you really think, but in the best possible way. So yeah, Annihilation is something I always will love and defend. Now, coming in number 6, we have Mission Impossible Fallout, which in my opinion is the best Mission Impossible movie that we have gotten. And which definitely, I always debate a lot of time between this, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Ghost Protocol as my personal favorites. But I think the more I think about it, especially when I rewatch the films before Dead Reckoning, Fallout just like, yeah, Fallout's my favorite, honestly. It's definitely the most fun movie in the franchise. It can change the story of Rogue Nation, has some pretty powerful moments, some of the most outlandish, insane, incredible action set pieces in any movie period. It's also a film that proved that, hey, Henry Cavill can play James Bond. Well, he hasn't inspired me, but he definitely still has shown this movie. And the Batman scene in general is just fantastic, and the action sequence is phenomenal. It's basically just what you expect from a Tom Cruise action movie at this point, but in the best possible way, but also being tense and also being compelling, and just a film that's just like, you just can't help but being invested in throughout. While again, still telling a compelling narrative with a great score, great performances from his cast, like it's definitely Tom Cruise's best portrayal of the character. It's a film they just can't help but be so invested in. It's gonna be interesting to see how they're gonna end this franchise with the eventual part 2, but it's gonna be interesting, that's for sure. Now, but again, these top 5 movies are basically my favorite movies of all time. Like my top 5, my top 5 are basically all films I consider to be all-time favorite movies. Rich Saint Sons. So coming at number 5, we have Hereditary, which I think is the best horror movie of the 2010s. I was not expecting to love and enjoy as much as I did, but I ended up really appreciating and loving so much of this movie. It's insane. Like, I really was not expecting to love this movie much as I did, honestly. And the more I watch this movie, the more I'm invested in, the more I'm impacted by these scares, like I said, I'm sometimes more into like a lot of psychological horror stuff, like stuff that really delves into like real actual life themes and just like, you know, trying to scare you and like monsters or whatever. I would just stuff. Well, I definitely don't mind all that stuff. It's stuff that scares you with monsters and all that stuff. And some of those are mind stuff that goes for a very real take on horror, like actual real life horrors. And This one does that incredibly well, with going through grief and loss and everything in between. And Toni Collette also delivers probably the best performance of her goddamn career. It's a freaking shame that she didn't get nominated. Sorry. Sorry, but yeah, Toni Collette, phenomenal here. Fantastic, incredible. Even Alex Ward delivers his best performance here as well, honestly. And like, that whole dinner scene between those two characters is just phenomenal. Like, oh my god, that dinner scene still gives me chills. The actors are great, honestly. The way the builds and builds throughout the movie is just phenomenal. The twists and turns it goes through, again, that whole ending, the third act, it's a film I just can't get enough of. A film that every time I watch it, I just find some more to appreciate about. And those are always the best kind of movies, honestly, and Hereditary definitely does that. Now, coming in number 4, I get to what I think is one of the best remakes of all time, and that is the 2018 remake of A Star Is Born. Now, I actually did end up watching the other versions of Star Is Born. Well, instead of some better than others, honestly, I think that's really a bad movie, honestly, between any of those, honestly. Means by that, I think 2018 one is still the best, honestly. This is Bradley Cooper's original debut, honestly, and he delivers the hell out of the movie. He directs the living shit. It's a movie that, in some ways, can feel very derivative and similar cliche, honestly, but it's truly his directing that really elevates the movie. It's his different directing and how he directs certain scenes that really elevates a lot of the material that normally would feel predictable cliche, because it kind of is in a lot of ways. But it's the case where I think the writing and the performances really elevate it. Again, got Bradley Cooper delivering one of his best performances. Got Lady Gaga, who basically proves that she can deliver a performance. That she can deliver in terms of acting, honestly. Even Sam Elliott, that was fantastic, honestly. The relationship performance between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga's characters is just incredible and amazing. One of the best love stories in recent film history, in my opinion. And the way it ends, well, it might cause pitiable, it's still very tragic. And still very impactful, still leaves an emotional impact on how it ends. Also, the film is just directed beautifully and just feels like a breathtaking moment at the moment, and gets to go through pretty interesting arcs. And also, the soundtrack is one of the best genres ever. Which I felt like the soundtrack is so amazing. Like, I got to see people always singing like "Shallow" and how as I'm filming this last night, I sung "I'll Never Love Again" by Never Love Again. A karaoke, honestly, and pretty much every song on the soundtrack is great, honestly. Every song here is just phenomenal. Definitely one of the best soundtracks to come out in 2010s and probably of all time, in my opinion. So yeah, Star Wars 2018 is a beautiful, amazing movie that hits the emotions, hits the humor, hits the heart, and just what you expect from the type of movie. In my opinion, as I've seen all the previous adaptations to Star Wars Born, this one's still my favorite. Now, also, this is not a case where I think my number 1 is actually pretty obvious, but my top 2 top 3 I definitely got a little back and forth, so I'm actually going to talk about both of them here, honestly. My number 3 being Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and number 2 being Avengers Infinity War. 2 of the biggest event films that come out this year. And for good reason, again. First I'll talk about Into the Spider-Verse, which is a film that kind of came out of nowhere, and a film that pretty much claimed that it was starting amateur pitches, a studio that definitely did not deliver the best material. I mean, it's the same studio as the Emoji Movie, but the film ends up being another big surprise that people end up loving, and this, another film that the more I watch it, the more I appreciate it. And it's basically like a love letter to, this film is basically a love letter to Spider-Man films. It's basically a huge love letter to that film, to Spider-Man. Like his storytelling, his character development, and what Spider-Man goes through, what it means to be Spider-Man, that anyone could be Spider-Man. It truly delivers all that film, with also making Miles Morales feel like a more interesting and relevant character. I think it's probably the first time I've even heard of Miles Morales, but he ended up delivering so good. Can I say 2018 was also a fantastic year to be a Spider-Man fan, considering, we had Venom, which I don't know if people here, but something like. We had Infinity War, which Spider-Man was in, honestly. And of course, the 2018 game, which is probably my favorite superhero of all time, and in my top 10 favorite games of all time. So yeah, that definitely tells you something. They have a great year to be a Spider-Man fan. Not mentioning the animation, some of the most beautiful and breathtaking animation in existence. Like, oh my god, some amazing sequences that still leave my jaw dropping. The way it develops Miles here, Peter Parker, Gwen, and what happens across Spider-Verse makes the story a lot more impactful. The action, the music, the back and forth, the final battle, it's just what you expect. It just delivers so much of what you want. And it's one that basically is like, a love letter to Spider-Man fans. And then we got Avengers Infinity War, basically the big event film of the MCU. A film that I've always loved, honestly, and it's still probably my top 3 favorite movies of the MCU, honestly. And again, it's a truly incredible event movie that basically builds on 10 years of movies in the MCU and it absolutely delivers. Again, this movie basically is like Thanos' movie, and it basically makes Thanos actually feel like a true compelling villain. And Josh Brolin just knocks the hell out of this movie, and his performances just so much back and forth in this movie, and the way it develops all the characters, and the way they managed to get everyone at least one moment to shine. It's kind of impactful and incredible. Of course, some get more screen than others, but when they do that, it's pretty impactful and incredible to watch. And of course, the snap still hits like a ton of bricks, even though that they don't really like some films don't really like touch upon the actual events in Phase 4, which is definitely one of the big criticisms about that. But it's still an impactful scene, honestly. And the whole final battle is impactful, and Thanos still being an incredible villain. Still probably the best villain, probably always will be the best villain in the MCU. And for good reason. They pretty much building up Thanos since pretty much the Avengers, and they managed to truly deliver. So yeah, Infinity War is an incredible movie. Spider-Man First is an incredible movie that really is a love letter to all Spider-Man fans. And both of them are some of the best super movies ever made. But now we get to what I think is the best movie of 2018, and this also still has not changed since my favorite ranking. And at number 1, we have 8th Grade. I think it's the best A24 movie and probably the best teen comedy movie ever made. Probably one of the most relatable movies I've ever seen in my life. A film that impacted me when I first saw it, and it still has impacted me when I go back to it again. Not a film I will rewatch very often, but when I do, I fall back in love with the story, these characters. A film that, basically not everyone's gonna love, but it's a film that delivers on the relatability of social anxiety, being a YouTuber, and social aspect in general it's incredible. Probably the best portrayal of social anxiety and also social media, how it can have an effect on you, but not hitting over your head with it. And also Phil Shep plays his character to the T. Josh Hamilton as a father is great, and the kids I think are pretty well done, and the way he delivers a lot of certain themes and certain social moments and anxieties and everything like that. It's absolutely incredible how they actually do that. And how they manage to manipulate so much of these characters. And then manipulate so much aspects and all that stuff. And I pretty much relate so much else as a character, but I consider Kayla probably end up being my favorite character of all time, as I'm dead serious. And now, the whole campfire scene in general, it's definitely one of the best moments of 2010s, and one of the best moments I've ever seen, that's for sure. Well, let's know why 8th Grade is my favorite movie of 2018. I'm someone that always says I love when films get very relatable and real, and 8th Grade does that to the T. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed discussing my top 10 20 best movies of 2018. Let me know down below in the comment section what are your favorite movies of 2018, which movies I did not include on the list. I mean, I've seen so many movies here this year, so maybe I might seen it, but they're probably seen the list. But I'll definitely love to know yours down below in the comment section. Again, I got a few more videos to get through this series to go that has been enjoying this series so far and enjoy these videos. Thank you so much for watching. I am Sam One World, Sam One Productions. I will see you next time as always. Stay cool up out there. Peace.